Hey guys, it's Alex Bertson, the Manic Scholar, back again with another Michael Teachings chart. Today we're looking at Joe Duplantier, who is the guitarist and vocalist of the band Gojira. It's like a progressive death metal band, really heavy music, but it's very spiritual as well. The lyrics are very spiritual. So, if you don't know what Michael Teachings is, it's a channeled body of knowledge that talks about our soul's characteristics that we maintain for our whole reincarnational cycle. It talks about the different lessons that we have during our reincarnational cycle and the overleaves that we choose for each life that modify how we approach life. So we're going to look at everything in this chart. There's two aspects to Michael Teaching's chart. There's the essence and the overleaves. The essence is the part that stays the same for your whole reincarnational cycle. It's always going to be the same no matter what life you're having. And overleaves are the characteristics that you take on for this life only. So let's get into it. Joe Duplantier, the guitarist vocalist of Gojira. His role is king, which is the cardinal action axis role. It's the seventh role, so it's the most cardinal. It deals with having a kingdom in some sense. There's a lot of themes of leadership that happens with kings because that's what they're here to learn about. So they're often in powerful positions. They're very action oriented. They get a lot done. They're really focused on self mastery. So that's a king. That's his main role throughout his whole reincarnation cycle. He's a king. Some other kings are like Donald Trump, Kanye West, Jesus was a king. I just did a video about Ian Curtis. He is a king, the singer of Joy Division. As well as Kid Cudi, he's also a king. So that's the king. His essence twin is priest, and it's discarnate. So he gets a little extra boost of priest energy in this life because his essence twin is discarnate. And the priest is really focused on the higher good and wants people to grow spiritually. But it's really attracted to everything spiritual with the priest. So you can see that reflected in the lyrics that Joe Duplantier has. His cadence position is sage, which is the cardinal expression axis role, which is really focused on communication, unique self-expression, dealing with groups, and communicating seeking insight, wisdom, stuff like that. They're the natural communicators. So he has king, priest, and sage, and then it doubles up on priest and sage because his cadence is priest and his greater cadence is sage. So he has two of them are priest and two of them are sage on top of the king. So this is really interesting because all three of those roles are the cardinal roles. So they're really focused on groups. They're more exalted, deal with bigger things. So he's very focused on the cardinal aspect of things, which is more group oriented. So his task companion is artisan and it's discarnate. The task companion helps you with your tasks throughout life. They're usually on the other side helping out. And because it's an artisan, it's going to help a lot with creative tasks, which really fits for him doing creative stuff with music. So his orientation is truth. So throughout all his lives, he's mostly focused on the truth aspects of things, the highest aspect of intellect, of the mind, of thoughts, the mental plane of things, as opposed to the emotional or the more energetic aspect. So that's kind of the domain that he's mostly focused on throughout all his lives. His male-female energy balance is 41-59, so he's close to the middle, but slightly more on the female side. The female energy is more focused on being, and the male energy is more focused on doing. So the female energy is more creative and creates an environment, while male energy is more single pointed focus and going in a certain direction. Um, if you had more male energy, it would be more focused on producing things, taking action. But with more female energy, it's more creative. His frequency is 46, which is right in the middle. He doesn't speed through things really fast or take a super slow pace of things. So he's very average in that sense. He's got 10 previous cycles, which means that before he came to Earth, he was on 10 different planets and completed the reincarnational cycle 10 times on 10 different planets. So for each cycle, it takes about 100 to 200 lives. So he's probably had 1,000 to 2,000 lives already as a sentient soul. The average amount of previous cycles on the planet for humans is 4. The most that we know of anybody is Jesus, and he had 19. And Hitler had 7. So that kind of gives you context of what happens. The more cycles you have, the more complex your soul is because you had more experience. So things could be more complex, but more experience allows for more complexity, more growth, more experience. So now let's look at his global job and community responsibility. His global job is partnership, which is a mix of server and sage energy. And partnership is just as it says. It's about building partnerships with the significant people in your life. A partnership is always going to be a theme for him in his lives on Earth. But it's about learning how to have good communication with others so that you can get along and work on things together, and collaborate on things and just get along. If the communication aspect wasn't there, then you wouldn't be able to have partnerships effectively. So communication is really big, and that's why it has some sage energy involved, because that's all about communication. So that makes a lot of sense for him in terms of his band. And his band, he's the main writer of the band, but his brother is in his band, Mario, and he's on drums. So he has that partnership aspect really strongly there. So it really does fit in with his band, everything he's doing in that sense. His community responsibility is acceptability, which is about drawing the line in terms of what is acceptable socially, politically, or spiritually even. As someone goes throughout their cycle and they get to the later soul ages, they more focus on the spiritual aspect of things. So he's focused on what's spiritually acceptable, you could say, and what we shouldn't do in life, what we should avoid. So, for example, like there's a song they have about the rainforest being like the forest being deforested and us destroying natural resources, and also he's really big on uh, nature and like whales and protecting the whales and stuff like that. So that could be a theme there in terms of him, what he's talking about in terms of what is actually acceptable for us to do and what should we avoid doing. The people who have acceptability as a community responsibility are the ones that make a lot of the rules and regulations, actually. So that's interesting to see. So that's his global job and community responsibility. And that's everything in his essence. So everything I just said is going to be the same for him for all his lives on Earth. So now I'll talk about his overleaves, which are the characteristics that he has for this life only. And his soul age, this is focus, let me change that real quick. His soul age is old level 4. And if we look on the timeline, He's right here. He's at level 4 of the old Soul Age. So he's getting towards the end of his cycle. He's starting to detach and let go of things, be more carefree. Um, but the focus in the old Soul Age is building context, so it's understanding how everything fits together in a more overarching sense. Um, it's the second Soul Age that's more focused on the inner world. The first three are all focused on the outer world, things that are happening in the world. And with the mature Soul Age and the old Soul Age, is more inner focused. But yeah, this is the last Soul Age that you go through before you stop incarnating. There's two more Soul Ages that happen afterwards: the transcendental and infinite. But those happen on the higher planes. You're not uh, incarnating on a planet anymore. So what we could say here is it's like about 3 lives per level. So he has maybe like 12 to 15 lives more, probably on average, until he's done with his cycle. But he's been on the planet for a while, being an old soul, so his perspective has changed a lot through having all that experience. So that's his soul age. Back in here. So now I'll talk about his goal, attitude, mode. His goal is flow, which is the neutral goal. Anything that has for the goal, attitude, and mode, if they're on the neutral axis, then you can slide to the other goals. So if we look at the key here, you could slide to these in different moments, but flow in general, what it means is learning how to go with the flow, to let go, not be controlling things so much, and kind of uh, let life guide you. Um, People in flow usually have a lot of support. Like the universe seems to support them in whatever they try to do. So it's kind of like a vacation life. People who have the goal of flow usually had really difficult lives in past lives, and so this life they're getting kind of a break or a vacation. But in terms of everything you need to survive, a lot of that kind of stuff is taken care of for the person somehow. So it's interesting. His attitude is idealist, which is about seeing the world in terms of how it can be changed for the better, how the world can be improved. And so people who have the attitude of idealist really work hard to change the world in the way that they see that needs to be changed for the better. His mode is passion. So he releases his energy very passionately. It's one of the more exalted of the modes, so there's a lot of energy coming out. It's not one of the more ordinal ones like caution or reserve. So he's gonna have a strong like expression, very passionate expression. His centering is moving, emotional. So moving means that he's more in terms of moving his body, the higher states of energy in the body. That's what he's engaged in most of the time. So he's going to be fairly focused on action with moving center first. So with him being in action, whatever his actions, uh, whatever he experiences through his actions informs what his emotional state's going to be. So that's how the two are connected together. So he's got moving and emotional. So those are the domains that he's focused on most. Not so much of the intellectual in this life. More about what he's feeling emotionally and what his body feels like in action. So there's also obstacles here. This one says obstacle 1. Let's change that. Um, Greed and impatience. Everybody has some kind of obstacle that makes life a little bit more difficult. It's something to work on for the soul to get more experience and grow. If we didn't have obstacles, life would be a little bit too easy. But the obstacles manifest themselves to different extents. in each person. Some people have stronger obstacles than others. But his obstacle is greed, which is known as more like a feeling inside of lack that that is filled up, but with different experiences or sensations, different things, whatever catches your interest and that you'd want more and more of, you'll just have you know be addicted to that kind of thing. So it's basically like filling up a hole inside that where there's a feeling of lack. But this can be filled with a lot of different things. It could just be love, or relationships, or even food, or different things. But it varies for each person how it manifests. It could even be like spiritual things, like seeking for more spiritual things all the time. Um, but yeah, it varies for each person. And the second obstacle is impatience, which is a fear of missing out. It's about uh, always wanting to be in some other moment or be some other place than where you're at, and being impatient about where you currently are. So it takes needing to be like having a different orientation towards the present moment, so that you accept whatever uh, circumstance you're in, and you're not trying to get somewhere else. But yeah, I'm not sure how strong these actually manifest in him. They could be a light influence, but everybody does have those different obstacles to deal with. So his body types are Saturnian and Lunar, which are the two inspiration body types. So they're aligned with the emotional aspect of things. Saturnian is the active, positive, masculine body type, and Lunar is the opposite. It's the passive, negative, feminine body type. But the Saturnian deals more with leadership, um, and the Lunar is uh, more emotional, but also very intellectual, and they consider it like the archetype is like the genius. Um, but they're both on the inspiration axis, so emotions are an important aspect of it, I would say. But yeah, so Saturnian is leadership, and that really fits well with his king role, because kings are usually associated with leadership as well. So his quadrant is knowledge. So in a group setting, he's the one that provides knowledge, as opposed to the one that gets everybody moving into like the power position, or initiating things. He's the one that provides the information in a group setting. And his needs are adventure, expression, and freedom. Um, Adventure and freedom are pretty self-explanatory, and expression deals with expressing yourself. It can be very like some kind of creative act or different things, um, and that makes a lot of sense for him. All three of these make a lot of sense in terms of what he does, because he's a musician and he gets to travel the world, and play his music everywhere and express himself. So that makes a lot of sense that he has those three needs, in terms of what he does. So yeah, that's everything in his chart. What we can say overall is what he has in his essence is a lot of cardinal roles: king, priest, and sage. Priest and sage are doubled up. Um, so there's a spiritual aspect and the communication aspect on top of this overall self mastery, discipline, hard work, kind of leadership approach that kings have. So he's got a lot of different things going on, but they're all cardinal, so they're really big picture, big group kind of focus. Old soul age, so he's winding down from his cycle. His perspective is he's a little bit more detached than the others would be. Flow goal, so he's learning to go with the flow. Idealist, looking at things in terms of how they can be changed. Passion mode, releases energy very passionately. Um, in partnership is a really big thing, which makes sense because he's in a band, so he has to work with others and communicate really well. Acceptability in terms of that talks about what's acceptable spiritually, socially, politically, and kind of drawing the line in terms of what we should be doing and not doing. Um, but yeah, there's themes of leadership here with the Saturnian body type, and some emotional aspects here with the emotional centering. Moving is action oriented, that fits with the king. So yeah, that's what I see here. A lot of cardinal overleaves too. Idealist, passion, moving, greed, impatience, Saturnian. Those are all cardinal. So very group oriented, very expressive, very spiritual, and focused on mastery. So that's kind of the themes I see for him in his chart. So that's it, guys. I'm gonna do another video about musicians. I have Aaron Turner's Michael chart too, so I'll do his soon as well. And there'll be more videos coming for Michael teachings, Vedic astrology, and human design. Um, so if you like this content, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Manic Scholar out.